So, Netflix, many of you are probably well aware that the company's not seen its best months lately, with the stock here tanking by, how much now? At its peak, it sank by about 72%. This began when in late April it was reported that Netflix lost 200,000 subscribers in the last quarter and expects to lose 2 million more in the coming months, and the stock reckoning was underway as a result. I believe it was the first time that Netflix has lost subscribers in like a decade, and investors were none too happy about that. As for what precipitated this, well, in part it might have to do with Netflix constantly raising the prices for their subscription, but Netflix believes they've identified 4 uncontrollable issues that will keep bleeding subscribers. In a long letter to investors, the 4 reasons outlined, the 4 key factors were increasing competition with, HBO Max and Disney Plus and other subscription services, slowing smart TV adoption, password sharing, and macroeconomic developments. It doesn't help matters that Netflix has a propensity for canceling good shows, and lately they've been going on a killing streak when it comes to animation. Netflix animation erased, reads this headline from April 20th. Executives fired, shows canceled, and accusations of staged data. Netflix's director of creative leadership and development for original animation was let go this week. The kids and family space at Netflix Animation has changed. Series that benefited from great word of mouth and critical praise aren't being renewed, and several high-profile projects have been unceremoniously canceled. People subscribe for the variety of content in a given platform, and Netflix has not been doing very well on that front with their streak of baffling cancellations. In May, you were seeing headlines like Netflix just canceled 4 more shows before they even got made. And then as if all that wasn't enough, right around the same time, Netflix was targeted with shareholder lawsuit alleging securities fraud after subscriber miss, with somebody claiming that Netflix violated U.S. securities laws by making materially false and or misleading statements, and also because it failed to disclose material adverse facts about the company's business operations and prospects. I believe Activision Blizzard has been hit with several such lawsuits because of their culture of harassment, abuse, misconduct, and discrimination that the executives failed to disclose, and so that affected the stock price, and all of that came to the surface. Also not helping optics surrounding Netflix and the subscription numbers is Netflix cracking down on password sharing. Now, back in June of 2022, when this Fortune article released, they claimed that it's looking like an empty threat. Netflix did test the crackdown on password sharing out, and apparently it didn't go well at the time. The new pilot program is not going well, with Netflix failing to enforce changes and users upset with higher charges canceling their subscriptions, according to an investigation by Rest of World, which you can find right here. Netflix cracks down on password sharing, but early efforts in Peru are a mess. And scrolling down, you'll find quotes such as, "It wasn't just the new charges, I just wasn't enjoying most of their shows anymore," which is what happens when you're constantly canceling beloved content left and right. They conducted another test back in July of 2022. Netflix tests another way to charge for password sharing, and they tested it on customers in Argentina, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and the Dominican Republic. So they've been testing the waters, and then on July 20th, 2022, CNET reported that Netflix aims to start charging you for password sharing next year. They briefly detailed 2 schemes that Netflix has been experimenting with, one being that Netflix charges a fee to create cheaper sub-accounts that are linked to the main subscription but have their own profile, login, and password. People who have Netflix's cheapest plan can't add any of these sub-accounts, so you'd have to get a higher tier subscription. And then the second scheme is to charge to add more homes where you can stream Netflix in addition to one primary residence, with a limit on how many additional homes you can add depending on your membership level. And you can actually find details about these plans on Netflix's official website, like this blog post right here published on March 16th, 2022. As well as this one right here, published on July 18th, 2022. People also weren't enthusiastic about the idea of Netflix partnering with Microsoft to introduce an ad-supported subscription plan, something which they did announce months before the release of this July 13th article. And then optics for Netflix got that much worse when they announced mass layoffs in the hundreds. About 150 mostly US-based employees were laid off back in May of 2022. And then after that, on June of 2022, roughly 300 Netflix employees were laid off on Thursday. And then employees within the company were speaking out to news outlets like Business Insider, describing what they called a culture shift to fear-based decision-making within Netflix, alongside executives being stretched thin and belt-tightening amid layoffs and subscriber losses. In the bullet points down here, it is further detailed that former employees described less candor and more fear-based decisions. It sounds to me as if Netflix's executives and decision-makers are panicking and making reactionary decisions off of that panic rather than making sound decisions based on an introspection on the way they've been shooting themselves in the foot. Now, one market that Netflix is trying to break into to expand their business is the gaming market. There's an article from back in May of 2021 that reads, Netflix seeks executive to expand game efforts. I mean, we talk about how Xbox Game Pass is currently the de facto Netflix of gaming, but Netflix also is dabbling into becoming the Netflix of gaming, the literal Netflix of gaming. And we saw what shape that would take on November of 2021 when they tweeted, let the games begin. Tomorrow, Netflix games will start rolling out on the Netflix mobile app, first on Android with iOS on the way. It's early days, but we're excited to start bringing you exclusive games with no ads, no additional fees, and no in-app purchases. The 5 games that were available at launch were Stranger Things 1984, Stranger Things 3, Shooting Hoops, Card Blast, and Teeter Up. So not a particularly compelling selection of titles that will drive a gaming customer base towards Netflix's platform. But for those who already subscribe to Netflix, these games were readily available to download, not to stream. They are essentially mobile games that can be accessed only by having a Netflix account. As highlighted by The Verge here, starting today, users can download Netflix games from the Google Play Store, requiring a Netflix subscription to play these games. A few months later, we'd get some performance metrics surrounding how Netflix games have been doing. As of January of 2022, Netflix's mobile games have been downloaded more than 8 million times, which really isn't a whole lot in the mobile gaming market. And then in June of 2022, we got an update that Netflix mobile games generate 13 million downloads as streaming giant ramps up release schedule. Again, these are not great figures at all in the mobile gaming market. The backbone of any gaming platform is the software, the games, and that's where Netflix is just lacking. Their selection of games are nothing mind-blowing, nothing that will attract audiences on a mass level. They made games that tie in with some of their shows like Stranger Things, but name alone isn't enough. The games themselves have to be compelling to play. And these lackluster numbers will come as no surprise with this latest information from August 6, 2022 from CNBC. Netflix is expanding its push into video games, but few subscribers are playing along. And in the bullet points here below, they share some stats. Netflix plans to expand its video game catalog from 24 to 50 by year end, marking a significant investment. Netflix's mobile games have been downloaded 23.3 million times globally as of the publishing of this August 6 article, and over time, their library of games did grow. But despite Netflix's best efforts, the app tracker Apptopia estimates that an average of 1.7 million people are engaging with the games daily, less than 1% of Netflix's 221 million subscribers. Unfortunately for Netflix, those who are already subscribed to Netflix are showing no interest in their gaming ventures and partaking in their catalog of 24 and eventually what will become 50 games by the end of the year. Now, Netflix executives did share some comments and statements. Netflix Chief Operating Officer Greg Peters said last year the company was many months and really frankly years into learning how games can keep customers on the service. The company's current catalog of 24 game apps covers a variety of genres and Netflix shows, from Stranger Things 1984 to Mahjong Solitaire to Exploding Kittens, the games that we were really waiting for. And then beyond that, they're trying to tie in other shows like Queen's Gambit into their games. The catalog will grow to 50 games by the end of the year, including Queen's Gambit Chess. Another executive echoed that they're still just figuring things out. We're still intentionally keeping things a little bit quiet because we're still learning and experimenting and trying to figure out what things are going to actually resonate with our members, what games people want to play. And while Netflix's current catalog won't raise many eyebrows from gamers, Netflix hopes to change that. It is noted by the article article that back in January, Netflix's CFO said that we're opening to licensing, accessing large game IP that people recognize, and I think you'll see some of that happen over the year to come. Now, I don't know if he means that he intends to bring AAA games to Netflix's service, or if it's more just well-recognized brands and IPs that are turned into mobile games, and if the focus will remain mobile gaming. This article also concludes that Netflix's games download numbers are not looking great. Download figures for Netflix games fall short of the leading mobile games. And then to close off, here's a quote from Netflix's co-CEO and co-founder Reed Hastings that was stated last January. "We've got to please our members by having the absolute best in the category. We have to be differentially great at it. There's no point of just being in it." Well, so far I'd be hard-pressed to say they've done a great job of that. There's a platform launch that so far is feeling about as tepid as Stadia's launch, though they might be setting the foundation for, drastic improvements to their platform and its catalog down the line. Maybe that's a future that we can look forward to, but it's hard to say. So far, I'm not entirely enthusiastic by Netflix's gaming offering, and neither is the gaming populace, judging by the fact that only less than 1% of their Netflix users are downloading their games, and that not a whole lot of people have been drawn to their gaming platform. The download numbers certainly reflect that. As for the kinds of games we can expect from Netflix's gaming division in the future, these are some of the upcoming ones listed by website whatsonnetflix.com. You can check this out for yourself, pause the video. Now, currently you do have some good games like Into the Breach as part of Netflix's catalog, but this is a game that's been out for a while. You can play it on so many other platforms. It just seems too little too late for this to come to Netflix and for it to be the thing that will drive people to engaging with Netflix's gaming endeavors. Now, beyond Into the Breach, you do have some of these other games that the website highlights the full list of currently available games. So you can scroll down this article and check these out for yourself if you so desire. Maybe something here will catch your eye and encourage you to download games as part of Netflix's subscription if you're already subscribed to them. The majority of these, though, look like just kind of low-key mobile games, very simple titles that don't offer anything too compelling. News outlet Kotaku did make some recommendations recently, highlighting some true diamonds in the rough, like the tactical game Into the Breach, the physics platformer Point B, which I highlighted in purple because of this list that Kotaku provides. It's the only one that's really Netflix exclusive, and any gaming platform does need some exclusives. And when it comes to Netflix's in-house first-party exclusives, that's where they're lacking. Point B aside, I can find these games on Steam. Into the Breach is, I think, $15 on Steam right now. Moonlighter, I believe, is $20, and Before Your Eyes is $10. Now, if you haven't bought these games already and you have a Netflix subscription, then you can just download these games without having to pay extra, though I imagine that if you unsubscribe from Netflix, which there's plenty of incentive to do these days, then you'll lose access to these games, so do keep that in mind. And another drawback is that currently Netflix games are limited to mobile gaming downloads. Currently, you cannot boot up Netflix games on a smart TV or, ironically, a gaming console's Netflix app. So yes, of right now, Netflix just isn't doing a whole lot that's drawing both casual and hardcore gamers to their gaming platform. They don't have heavy hitter games. You can't access Netflix games across all of the different devices that the Netflix app is supported on. And with how poor optics currently are surrounding Netflix, and with how many people are considering unsubscribing from a service that's becoming less and less compelling to them, that's further going to disincentivize people from becoming too invested on a gaming platform that can only be accessed through a Netflix subscription, especially with the way Netflix is being handled, with compelling shows being canceled left and right, and subscriptions are made all the less compelling with the way they're continuously raising prices, the way they're planning to introduce ad-based subscriptions, and the way they're cracking down on password sharing, which is a feature that is obviously really convenient. All of this is just generating such bad will, and you combine that with the way Netflix's gaming endeavors have seen such a tepid launch. I don't really see Netflix's gaming division taking off in the near future, and if they wanted to take off in the long-term future, there's a lot of course correcting that they have to do in the present. But whether that ends up happening, only time will tell. Until then, though, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on the current state of Netflix and what you think the future holds for their attempt to break into the gaming market with their gaming subdivision. Do you think it'll one day take off, or do you think it's doomed to fail? Share your thoughts below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.